Hey guys, we are back at E3 2018. I am here with Angela and Chris, with my co-host David. We're going to talk about Hunt Showdown, and I'm going to throw it to a new E3 trailer, and we'll be right back. You don't get to... I'm so excited about this game. So the thing I want to talk about over here is because on our YouTube channel a few years ago, we showed a gameplay video you guys gave us called Hunt Horrors of the Gilded Age, and it's one of our highest viewed YouTube videos. And people are like, what happened to this game? And you guys care to explain that? Because it is now Hunt Showdown.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we inherited the game a little while ago, and we started...
Mike.
Excuse me. That'll probably help if I'm actually giving some answers. But, yeah, we inherited the game a little while ago, and we wanted to put kind of our stamp on it and to rework it into our abilities as a shooter developer. Traditionally we've been working on first-person games. We've done a lot of work with first-person shooters in the past, from Crysis and Far Cry and things like this. And our pedigree and our history has been developing games like that, and multiplayer as well, specifically. So when we got that game over, we wanted to put like our kind of themes on it and our mark on it and adjust it and build it in, from our experience point of view. So that's kind of how it developed. We also were interested as well as making it more of a high-tension game. We wanted to put more kind of spooky themes into it and make it more kind of more of a dangerous place to be. This is how the kind of PvP part came. It was a bit more organic. Over time, we kind of tried that out in the build, and it worked a little bit better for us, and we kind of stuck with that. And over the time, that's kind of where it came from.
Yeah, we're also big fans of the Victorian era aesthetic and the cowboy, like that we inherited from the game, and we decided to keep that absolutely. Yeah. But we, as CJ was saying, we wanted to make it more high tension, and we think that adding PvP to it and in a match-based format would absolutely make it super extra intense.
And from like an art style as well, like the realistic aesthetic was more appealing to us. It's again, from our technology and from our abilities internally, it fit a little bit better to kind of go down that road and to go with the more realistic lighting and realistic settings and things like that. So that's
first person moving from third to first person. Yeah.
Exactly.
And obviously when we moved to things like PvP, third person was difficult for us because it would lead to a lot of exploits. And we did actually experiment a bit with Hunt as a third person game for a short while. But what we found is, like if you're third personing around, you can kind of peek around corners, you can look over boxes and stuff, and it really took the tension away because you kind of could predict what was around the corner, and if you can predict what's around the corner, the whole scary aspect kind of disappears, right?
Like half of the tension goes away if you can just have an open field of view, like.
Yeah.
I've been following the game's development for a while, and I know you entered early access a little under 4 months ago now. Yeah. And so I was wondering, how did you decide to enter early access, and what has that process been like for you?
The appeal for early access for us was really one of that we could iterate really quickly. Like normally when you ship a traditional box product, you have to kind of get everything done, everything polished by a certain date, and then it goes out and you have to hope for the best and see what happens. And you might get 1 or 2 patches to do some iteration on it. But what you don't get is you don't get the feedback live.
Chris, your mic.
Computer. I'm sorry. You don't get the feedback live from people. If we wanted to do iteration on things, if we wanted to kind of make small changes and do balancing and actually get the community's feedback on the features, early access was the thing for us. And for us so far, it's been really, really useful. We've had players on our test servers, we've had players trying out new features, we've got features coming out very soon that they can actually look at and try before and give us valuable feedback on it. Yeah, it's been really great. It's been really great.
Well, so what has that back and forth with the community been like, and what are some of the new features you have coming out? I guess you said pretty soon here.
Yeah, we have some stuff coming out very, very soon. You've seen the videos out here right now. There's actually a bit more on top of that that's coming that we haven't talked about yet. But we're not going to give an exact date as to when that stuff is coming, but it's going to be real soon.
Soonest, yeah.
And what we've tended to do is that we've approached the community in a bunch of different ways. We have them on the Discord. We talk to them in some cases one-on-one. A lot of ways. We do surveys with them. We bring them to the test server. We ask them their opinions on things. And I hope so far we've been pretty good at listening to what they have to say. I hope today when we announce some of the new stuff, they're going to be pleased with what we have to offer them, because it should tick a few of the boxes and scratch a few of the itches that they had. And we're actually going to be talking a little bit about sort of 3-4 features that we're going to be introducing for them. The biggest of which is something we're calling the boost. So we had a feedback for a long time about the aspect of camping in Hunt. So when players would go in and they would try to get the bounty, they would try to kill the targets and take them down. A lot of players would kind of just sort of hold around the perimeter, wait for the other team to do all the hard work, and then kind of just kill them, take the bounty, and leave. We introduced some fixes for that with one of our more recent patches, which gave you more reward for kind of just going in and doing that. And now we're actually introducing kind of one of the bigger mechanics. It's kind of a game changer actually, where if a team goes in and kills the target, they pick up the bounty, they're going to have something we call like the dark vision boost. And what that's going to do is actually for a limited kind of period of time, you actually have a little pool, like a timer pool, and you can use it for X amount of seconds. You can kind of turn it on and off, and that pool will just decrease, but it will allow you to see the position of other players within a radius. So you can't see them across the map, you can't use it too exploitively, but you will be able to see players within 100, 150 meters or so. But don't forget, you have a limited window in which to use this, but it will allow you to kind of make a plan on how you're going to deal with them.
That seems like it would be effective at keeping the game moving for everybody, not only the hunter, but the hunted as well.
It's when we tested it internally, it really changed the whole boss takedown moment. We had a lot more players really actively wanting to get that first, because it's such a it's such a boost for that period of time that it really does adjust the whole pacing of the game. Long term, we're considering actually having that so that if you kill a team with it and then you pick up the bounty afterwards, if there's any of that pool left, you might still get to use that. But we'll have to see in the future. We need to check it out, iterate on it a little bit, see what the feedback is from the community, and then work on it from there.
And to guide you a little bit through the process of how we actually take the feedback from the community, we have, of course, social media channels, but we also have an official Discord, and we have over 20,000 people in there talking all the time. We are there talking to people almost every day.
Yeah. User voice is like 11,000 people, 3,000 suggestions, I
Yes,
think.
we have a feedback platform where people just can put in their ideas, and we have over 3,000 ideas, and we have to monitor and maybe merge them together and try to make all of this into actionable items. And we try to get the most requested features or balancing changes. We try to fit them into our internal roadmap. Yeah. So we're always meeting, we're always talking to each other. I think
it's at least once a week.
Yeah, I think CJ is a bit tired of my face and my Excel sheets.
Oh, we love Excel sheets. It's great.
I think breaking news. I mean, making an online game is hard.
Yeah,
especially when
it's really hard.
As unique as yours. I know I'm probably saying that. It's 2v2 v2 v2. Or just 2v2?
Yeah. So 2v2 v2.
Yeah.
v2.
Well, it's 10 players. I mean, you can
6 players or 8 players. That's what I can't remember.
10.
It's 10.
10. Okay, so 5 teams of 2.
Yeah.
Or
you can go in solo
teams of
if you
1.
want.
Yeah.
Oh, teams of 1. You go solo? I don't want to go solo in that game. That'd be hard.
I mean, we will be in the future also introducing solo and nightmare modes. Again, no ETA. It's likely that they will start off being event-based, so we will run some events about. Another community feedback was for single players, solo players. They felt a bit disadvantaged to be match made with teams all the time, so they wanted to be able to have, knowing that the entire round would be just 1 versus 1 versus 1 versus 1 versus 1.
Oh wow, that's really hard.
Yeah, so it was kind of for now it'll be an event-based thing. We're also looking at introducing nightmare mode very soon. This will be level 25 or higher, and it'll be much harder, but higher rewards, for example.
When we talked to you guys last year, you said you were tinkering with the idea of having teams larger than 2. How's that coming along? Did you X-Nate? Are you still messing around with the numbers? Or
At the time, we were only doing either teams of 1 or teams of 2.
Yeah. Okay,
the problem is the more teams, the bigger the team size, you're either going to have disadvantage for other players, or it's going to break the tension. Because if you have 2 teams of 5, well, you come across that team, there are no other teams, right? That's the tension just gets lost very, very quickly. So that's one of the main reasons we don't want to do that.
Now, talk about your monsters in this world. You guys have fantastic monsters. Because I'm going to go off about the time period. I'm trying to save that for last because I love the time period. But let's talk about the monsters first. You have this The one that sticks out in my mind is that terrifying spider creature.
What? A spider made out of human body parts is scary?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
That's everyone's favorite.
Not really the size of this like 50-inch teeth. No, they're bigger than that. They're twice the size as me.
Have you seen that it has a human head? Because a lot of people
it
notice
moves too fast. I can't. The thing is terrifying. All I know is it has like 6 human arms and making legs, and then it just screams and runs up and down walls.
At one point we
and shoots
wanted-
poison too.
And she's poison acid. Of course it does.
I mean, at one point we actually were thinking about maybe having it like spit out babies, and they just
Oh,
call
good
them.
lord.
Oh my God.
But,
Getting out babies.
yeah,
Killer
it was a little
insect babies.
technical difficulties in doing that. But
But that's just one of the many creature types you have. You have the butcher, I think is well. Is that
Yeah.
working
Yes,
title?
the
The
butcher.
butcher as well. Talk about some of the other monsters in your game.
yeah, I mean, we have basically a full like kind of AI cast. We have the 2 bosses you just mentioned. We have the meathead and the spider. They have 2 very different kind of gameplay approaches to those. I mean, the spider's very agile. It can climb on walls, ceilings, all over the place. A little bit weaker, a little bit less bullet spongy. Jump attack. He has like poison and things like this. So the butcher is more of a kind of bullet sponge. He has kind of several stages he'll go through. A lot of fire and flames. He does a lot of damage if he can hit you quickly. So you want to just try to avoid him. He can charge at you, but it's it's a bit easy to kind of get out of his way at the moment.
I have a great story about the butcher. The first time I encountered him, I was like, just shoot it. We're like, shoot it in the head. Yeah, shoot it in the head. And then it was a mask and it fell off. And it had no head. And I'm just like, what do we do? I don't know.
Yeah. You just shoot it anywhere else.
We're just like, just shoot and run. Just shoot and run.
And see, you just mentioned the meathead as well, and the meathead is not one of the bosses. Like, it doesn't have a bounty, but it's one of like our special kind of AI.
Like an elite
Yeah,
boss. Yeah.
He's very resistant, and he has these leeches that can detect you at a distance. So maybe if you're close to him, maybe he won't see you, but his leeches will.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
So yeah, it's
I mean,
it's kind of nasty.
The game is very designed around the idea of kind of audio tells and visual cues, and the AI is designed to be somewhat around that. Like, for example, we have hellhounds, which are just packs of dogs.
Yeah.
We actually recently buffed them a lot, and they were kind of scary to begin with, but easily avoidable. And now they have a bigger radius of sight and sound, and they can fuck you up really fast. They can really, really hurt you. Right? And we've busted. You have come across them before.
Yeah. I'm actually curious to know a little bit more about audio design in these games, because I think it was about 10 years ago now, maybe 11, Dead Space really opened my eyes to the importance of audio design, especially in horror games or games with horror themes. So what is a little bit you can tell us about kind of the audio design that goes into choosing kind of just the right cue to evoke the right emotion in players?
It's tricky. The tricky part is that you can flood the sound space a lot very easily. And the tricky part is, I mean, I'm not an audio engineer, so I can't give you the specific details of it, but what we struggled with a lot is deciding the volume of what and how much stuff you're going to be hearing at every given point, because since it's gameplay specific, it really has to be audible at the right time. So if you're walking around and everyone is stepping on twigs that are snapping and dogs are barking everywhere and gunshots are everywhere and glass is everywhere, it just we had a lot of playtests where it was just so overwhelming to kind of listen to all this stuff. It got so exhausting, and we had to take a lot of stuff back. Like, for example, if you notice in Hunt, we have very little music in game.
Yeah.
Right? That was something that really distracts from...
I'm a big fan of that direction. I think ambient noise, especially in recent years, a lot of games have kind of eschewed soundtracks for more of an ambient focus. I think that adds a lot to the immersion.
Yeah, I mean, what worked for us great was that we knew that the sound was being generated by other players. So what we wanted to do was try to reduce the amount of just general world stuff that's happening. It's you and your footsteps, maybe a few idles from the AI and whatnot, but we wanted the majority of the sounds to be player-driven things, because you're using them as cues to see where players are going to be.
Yeah.
So like stepping on the glass or like opening the doors and stuff, right? So
that's the thing. I imagine that must be the hardest part, because in this type of game, anything you hear has to be significant. If one player says to his or her buddy, "Oh, did you hear that?" Whatever they heard has to mean something.
Yeah, it has
can't
to be relevant, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, again, you just get kind of fatigued with the sounds, and then it just becomes somewhat meaningless. So yeah, it has to be completely relevant.
And not only for the person who is listening, but also as a player, you have to be so aware of every movement that you make, because you can be stepping on broken bottles, you can be getting too close to, for example, the crows, and they make noise and they fly away and they give away your position. All that kind of stuff, all these little things that you do, if you're not careful, the others will know where you are.
Yeah. Right. I mean, we also we have a few things for players as well to play with, like the radio players and the automatic pianos and stuff. You can kind of mess with other players a little bit with that. Some of the audio cues, like for example, we mentioned the ravens just now. They might need to get toned down a tiny bit. There's a lot of them in the level, and right now we don't have an effective counter to them from a player's perspective yet. So we're kind of looking at those a little bit internally as well, but we'll see how that goes.
That's actually something I wondered, Angela, since community feedback is so important, do you take community feedback on just like balance and features, or are you looking for everything, saying, you know, this level feels off, I don't really like how this looks, this sound doesn't seem right to me? Are you gathering everything?
We're gathering absolutely everything. And I mentioned game balancing because it's like kind of the low hanging fruit, so to speak. But we have been taking a lot of ideas that we have implemented. For example, we're gonna do spectator mode in the future, which was a highly requested.
Yeah, that one was
feature.
huge. Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yes, we've also introduced localization to several languages from our player base, or even servers, like server regions. We have added based on community feedback as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can actually talk about 2 or 3 of the new features now. I mean, Angela just mentioned like spectator mode was one. Like if you're playing in a duo and your buddy dies, or you die, sorry, you want to be able to see through your buddy's eyes for a while. So that's something we're actively working on right now. So you don't just sit there in the death screen looking at the sky, wondering where your friend's going to be. We also will introduce death screens as well. So when you do die, you know how you died. Who shot you from, what distance, with what weapon.
So it's instructive.
Yeah. I mean, the moment when you die, you have next to no feedback about how you died. And we want to make that a bit more kind of obvious. Like, you can even see the hunter tier that killed you, roughly how far away, with what weapon, and it just gives you a little bit more information about what was going on. The last thing we're adding is we had a lot of feedback about looting dead hunters. That came up, I think it was like the second most.
Or third, yeah. I think second was spectator mode and third was looting dead players.
Yeah, it's probably the case, Like, we want to actually allow players to do, we're going to introduce like the first layer of this. And that's going to be if you kill a hunter, you can loot them, you'll get some ammo. What you will also get is if you carried like an inventory item in there, like a consumable, something like this, like a Molotov, you can actually get a chance to get that back. So it gives you like kind of replenishment of some of the like items that you use, because right now you can't replenish those in the game. So it gives you just a little bit extra.
Okay. So, it's interesting that we kind of, this is something Greg and I have talked about, where we're kind of gaming in an era where spectating is so important, but not just for spectators, which is kind of what YouTube and Twitch are predicated on, but also for players. You can learn as much now by watching what you did as actually doing what you did.
And it also helps a little bit for us when we have things like the death screen, so that players have a feedback about what happened. Because when you die and you lose a hunter, that's a big deal to a lot of players. Right? They put a lot of hours into that, so we need to give them a bit of extra information, and that's from our side, it's a really important thing. We also will be introducing a new map at some point in the near future, so that's a new thing as well. So we've been talking about that for a while. No ETA yet, but we will confirm they're working on another map. It is set in Louisiana, and that's all the information we have, but hopefully we'll get something new and some more information soon for that.
It's not just set in Louisiana, it's set in 1895. I mean, I find that fascinating, because I don't think we have enough games that take place in that time period, especially games that are supernatural in origin. We get some Western games every now and then, but like, I like supernatural stuff. I want to fight zombies and creatures, and in that time period I think it's such an untapped time period in games. I have no idea why.
I mean, when we designed that, what part of the kind of appeal to us was we didn't want 1800s in the, we call them the cliche times, like London and Paris with all the opulence and all the nice brass, steampunky kind of stuff. It's been done a lot. We wanted to do the shittier parts of the world, the nastier parts of the world, covered in mud and dirt and blood and
gritty, just very gritty.
I mean, even if you look at our weapons design, you can see that they are all rusty, they're dirty, and they have seen stuff that like the cleaner weapons have not. We wanted to make sure, we wanted to make sure that people grab like a Winchester and they see, this has seen some horrible stuff.
It's just what fascinates me is that like you have these hunters, which are basically like the lawmen of the supernatural, and like, but they sometimes work together and they sometimes don't, which leads me to another question: is if I'm in a game of 10 people in groups of 2, can I meet another group and say, hey, let's not attack, let's work together to kill this boss and split the bounty?
So the teaming aspect is quite controversial at the moment for 2 reasons. One is we didn't have a limit or a mechanic to deal with players. They could actually trick the matchmaker somewhat and get into a game together. So you could end up with a team of 4 communicating in the same server together, which was really bad.
Gamers.
We have some, I can't talk about the specifics of how we're solving that, but we're adding some mechanics in the background to stop that from happening, because again, the community basically were very upset about that, and rightly so. It really kind of ruins the aspect of the game. What we don't mind, however, is if you go in as a solo and you meet another solo, if you guys want to work together, that's fine by us. I mean, even if you come across kind of two teams and you manage to strike some sort of peace accord and work together, we're fine with it as long as it's not premeditated.
Do you guys have near voice communication? So if I'm talking to the mic, other teams can hear me? Okay.
I mean, we support like an in-game VoIP that's directional. Even the in-game chat is radius-based, right? So.
See, that's what I think is fascinating about your game, is you're giving me multiple ways to play, which is always great, because I can, if I want to go in guns blazing, kill everything, and try to kill the monster immediately, I can do that.
Yeah.
My personal favorite way to play is to just kind of find the boss and wait.
Yeah.
And I just wait until like another team comes in.
Yeah.
And then during the fight, I just run in and I start attacking them.
Yeah.
Because I know once they're dead, my opposition's gone. And I don't have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah.
And there's also the third way, which is like meeting people and saying, hey, let's not attack, let's just work together. Yeah. And then you can betray them afterwards.
If that has worked out for you, I'd love to know.
But maybe when we introduce the dark vision boost, that would be not that great for you, because then other players who actually took down the boss would be able to see where you're hiding.
Yeah. It's true. It's worked, but I was betrayed.
Yeah.
So either I was betrayed, or we're really bad shots and they were hitting me instead of the monster.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wait, you're hitting me? Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh no. You guys, when does the Hunt Showdown come out, and what platforms will it be on?
Oh, well, right now it's in early access, and it's only on PC on Steam.
Yeah.
And if you want to try it out and check it out, you can do so right now.
Yeah.
We about a month ago we released our first big content patch, and very, very soon you'll be able to see what's next from the stuff that we showed in the video, what we just talked about.
Yeah.
We're not going to release all of it in one patch, but we're going to basically do a couple
gradual
more
kind of iterations.
gradual, yes.
It's breaking news again. Games take time to make, so.
Yeah. I mean, along those lines, we also spent like a big part of the last sort of 2-3 months. We had a lot of feedback on performance and on the background stability and things like that. And we've put out a ton of patches that will hope address that. We're going to do even more on that, more on performance, more on the back-end stability as well. We just introduced matchmaking as well, so that we have, lower tier guys are not getting steamrolled by higher tier guys. So a lot of stuff has come out, and there'll be much more to come.
Hunt Showdown is an early access. Get it. It's a game. It's a very unique experience in a world of first-person shooter clones and battle royales. It's a very unique experience, and I absolutely love the time period and the monster design and the weapons, and it's great. So check it out. We're going to leave right now, but we're going to be right back at E3 2018. You guys, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
This is amazing. This is amazing.